Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Mogul Live this week. Really excited. Jancroon NFT collection drops next week with Mogul. So, anyone in the chat here want to ask any questions about that? But today we want to dive just a little bit deeper, talk to the actual writer, creator of the movie series, and obviously getting an idea of his insight into just the characters, what's involved. He's got some great stories. I can see so many people in the chat already. Josh, Indigo, Chris, Bunyan. Hello to you all, and I know we've got Jancroon, Louie, who is the writer creator of Jancroon in the chat as well. So we're going to connect him in. As always, ask any questions you like, whether it can be about Mogul's NFT drop coming up next week. This is the 7777 collection. So this is your chance to get in. So we're going to talk to Louie about that. With the actual film itself, we're going to talk to him about the process of writing it, who's involved, how he got involved in it, and some great stories with Disney, Fox Studios. So let's see if we can get Louie into the chat pretty easily this time. Let's see if we can get him in. So we put the invite button, see how it works. Hey, Crystal, David, Michael, Tim, Nick, John. Louie, that's pretty painless. Getting you connected was easy.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you, and obviously you can see everyone filling up the chat right now. Basically, guys, you can ask Louie any questions you like. Again, Louie, if you want to answer any questions, you can. Hi, I love Mogul. Thanks, Kunak. Please tell me, there's too many questions coming in, but basically, it's great to have you. And I'd love to just talk a little bit about, let's talk about the NFT collection starting off next week, and a little bit about Jancroon and where that series and the idea came from.
Okay, yeah. So again, thanks for having me. Hello to everyone. So Jancroon is based on an original screenplay I wrote, and I'll just give you the log line. It's the story of four young men from the present who mysteriously awaken 1,000 years in the future on the enormous galactic port Jancroon, and they're thrust into a conflict between the humans and the newly discovered race of Kroon. So the NFT collections we're going to be doing are based on this new alien race I created. And Tara Whitlatch, who was George Lucas's creature designer on the Star Wars prequels, she did the initial concepts of the Kroon, came out amazing. And then her understudy, Sarah Dollinger, we kind of expanded on Tara's concepts, and we created four, I call them clans, but they're kind of four different cultures of the Kroon. And I really wanted the Kroon to be as diverse as humanity. One of my pet peeves is when an alien race all look the same. So I worked.
It's a lot of movies out there.
Yeah. So I just wanted them to be really, have a real screen presence and to be really awesome looking. And, I think it's important for, when you're telling a good versus evil story, the villains are important. If you have a weak villain, then you have a weak hero, ultimately. So Sarah and I last year, we really honed in on the different looks of the four different clans. And so, last year, as last year went on, I started to learn about these things called NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And people were like, Louie, your Kroon could be an amazing, NFT collection. So, and I was talking to you earlier, and I was always looking for someone thinking outside of the box to help us, because launching a brand new sci-fi fantasy original story, it's very challenging in today's Hollywood, entertainment scene. So, I was always looking for someone, and so we were always looking for other avenues, other ways. And then, like I was mentioning to you, I saw an article on Cindy Cowan, and she was talking about NFTs, and then that's when I learned about Mogul. And so we reached out, and here we are. So we're super excited about these new NFTs we're launching surrounding the Kroon. But yep. It's a much bigger thing we're launching. So I'm hoping that the collectors will understand that they're actually helping launch potentially a brand new sci-fi fantasy franchise, which could be super exciting. So.
Yeah, and I mean, and like you sort of said, I think the real great thing for people looking to get into the NFTs is, I mean, there's some really good people behind it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned obviously, the original concept art, Carol, which what was that response like? And for anyone that's kind of like not aware of the work there, I mean, obviously, can you talk about obviously the meeting to set up that, but also some of the people behind the scenes that have worked on it and the work that they've done.
So yeah, so when I reached out to Terrell, I had no, so for a while I just had the script, and I was trying to get an agent, and I was really naive back then. And when I realized that I needed to put some visuals to Jancroon to help pitch this story, I reached out to Terrell, and I had no idea what her response would be. And she's like, well, let me read the script. And she did, and she loved it. And so she gave me 15 pages of this amazing concept art. And then at that point, my attorney basically was like, look, you need to start your own company. You need to start your own LLC if you're going to start hiring people. And at that point, I became a producer. Once I started my LLC, and so I started to really expand from just a screenwriter into putting on that producer hat and figuring out different ways. But once I had Terrell's concepts, that's when I started to start hitting the pavement and trying to get meetings. And some of the meetings are just hilarious stories, but
we talk
it's a I'm sorry, say it again.
Can we talk a little bit about some of those meetings?
Sure.
I'd love to.
Yeah. So I mean, this trying to break down the doors of Hollywood, it's a roller coaster ride. There's peaks, there's valleys. So I'll never forget. So a friend of mine out in LA, she goes, Louie, I waitress at the Disney restaurant. And I'm like, I'm sorry. She's like, so apparently at the Disney headquarters in Burbank, there's a restaurant in the headquarters that all the executives have lunch at every day. And she goes, my friend goes, yeah, I serve lunch to the chairman every day. Do you want me to see if I can get a meeting for you? I go, sure. Yeah. So she got me a meeting with the chairman of Disney. And just that fact alone, that nobody like me got a meeting with the chairman, is just incredible. So we go to the meeting, and I have my book of all Terrell's concepts, and we meet with him for an hour, and I pitch the story. He's asking me questions. Meeting's going awesome. And at the end of an hour, I meet with him for a full hour, and he looks at me and goes, Louie, you did a great job. He goes, hold on to the script. I'm going to have you meet with producer Frank Marshall. Now, Frank Marshall is a legendary producer. He produced tons of Steven Spielberg movies. He produced Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's happening. And so he goes, hold on the script. I'm going to call Frank Marshall and set up a meeting for you. So I'm like, awesome. That's the last I ever hear from Disney.
You don't hear from Frank? You don't hear from anyone?
So a couple of weeks go by, and I finally reached out to Frank Marshall's office. I'll never forget. I talked to his assistant, Mary. And so I told Mary about what the chairman of Disney said. And she goes, well, Louie, let me look into it for you, and I'll get back to you. So the next day she calls me back, and she's like, Louie, we don't have anything from Disney. So she's like, I apologize, but welcome to Hollywood.
Oh,
and that's the last I ever heard from Disney. I have no idea. I mean, I literally got ghosted by Disney, but I mean, that's part of, I'll never forget. She said, welcome to Hollywood. So and then, do you want me to tell you the Fox story?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And Overstyler, great to have you as well. Great to have you in here. Conversation, just ask any questions you like. But yeah, I'd love to hear about the next one. That'd be great,
So,
Louie.
I managed to get a meeting with the head of visual effects at Fox, and he's no longer there. He's retired now, but so I'm not afraid of telling the story. So, I go there with my concept art and the script and everything. And first I hand him the art book of all of Terrell's concepts, and he says, Louie, I can't look at that. And I said, why not? He goes, well, apparently Fox was completely scared of being sued So he was not allowed to look at anything. So I was a little disappointed. But then we got talking, and he told me. So I met with him about a year after Avatar came out, and he tells me the story of how Avatar got greenlit at Fox. And the story goes that the head guy at Fox, I forget his name, but he didn't want the responsibility of greenlighting Avatar all on his shoulders. So he made the creative executives vote if to see if they were going to go forward with Avatar. So there was 9 executives. Avatar got voted in 5-4. And so his name was John Kilkenny, and John looks at me, he goes, Louie, do you realize what would have happened if we turned down Avatar? He's like, Louie, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I would have been fired because I guess James Cameron was about to go to Disney. Disney was in play to do Avatar. So they, luckily for all those executives at Fox, they greenlit Avatar. But it was such a disappointing story for me because if James Cameron is barely getting his original stuff made on the studio level, then it's like, what are the odds for the rest of us? And so around that time, I was like, I need to find a different way to get this story launched. So after that, we started to really focus on, doing a graphic novel or a comic book series or something like that. And then that basically morphed into us reaching out to Sarah, having the Kroon more further developed. And then this whole NFT phenomenon is just, it literally is an amazing way for, filmmakers and writers like myself to get their projects launched. So I'm hoping that people, these that do collect these NFTs, they realize that, they're going to be helping launch something really exciting and off the ground. So this is just so there's a much bigger sort of thing going on with Jancroon, not just the NFTs. And one of the things that the collectors are going to be getting is a full 96-page graphic novel. So that's about a 5-month process to put together. So even though the timeline on the roadmap, we're telling people around November, it could be a lot sooner than that. So hopefully people are excited about that.
So I was going to say as well, just for the new people that have just arrived in the chat as well, can you give me the elevator pitch again? What the story is actually based on, and what are these NFTs that people will be able to buy, starting next Tuesday, Wednesday?
Okay, so the whole story is based on an original screenplay I wrote. It's the story of 4 young men from the present who mysteriously awaken 1,000 years in the future on the enormous galactic port Jancroon. And they are thrust into a conflict between the humans and the newly discovered race of Kroon. And basically they must awaken the warrior within if they're ever to find their way home. So it's got this really big classic good versus evil structure to it. And we had initial concepts done by Tara Whitlatch, who was George Lucas's creature designer on the Star Wars prequels. She designed the initial concepts for Kroon, and then her understudy, Sarah, we further developed them last year with Sarah Dollinger, and they came out fantastic. So the 4 sub-races of the Kroon, we call them clans, those are what are going to be featured for these NFT collections. And so Sarah did all the variations of. Go ahead.
The Satani is the first one to be released.
So I'll break it down for you. So the 4 clans, there's the Satani Kroon, there's the Yurke Kroon, there's the Porpra Kroon, and there's the Fornjoda Kroon. So the first collection is going to be the Satani Kroon, and they have like a reddish skin. The Yurke have more of a bronze, brownish skin. The Porpra is a little more rare, and they have like a purplish skin. And the most rare Kroon is the Fornjoda, but they're like the giants of the race, and they have a like powder white skin.
How close do you think the Star Wars type fan base will kind of respond to these characters?
Well, anyone who loves Star Wars loves sci-fi, and so we are launching a new sci-fi story world. I think there could be an amazing and rather easy crossover. We're definitely not. I just think everyone love something new and exciting now again,
Yeah.
you know, and I think it's long overdue.
I thought your characters had a great tone to them, and definitely like a distinct look to them as well, which is
Mhm.
very important, obviously, when you're recreating your characters. And that's why I kind of felt like, look, for anyone out there that likes Star Wars, you're going to love this, because this is certainly in that same sort of very, like you said, good versus evil genre. And then obviously just kind of like to slingshot quickly ahead as well, just to talk a little bit about the obviously someone investing in the NFT side, but then also the video game opportunities and the other opportunities that are starting to spring up, which is really exciting, but also a testament to what you've actually created.
Yeah. So a lot of the most of the proceeds from these NFTs are going to go right back into the development of the project, like visual development with Industrial Light and Magic, putting the graphic novel together, getting elements of the development for iLogos, who was our game partner. So with that being said, a lot of what we're going to be building are going to be available as like virtual real estate on Jancroon. So if you imagine, if you guys know the size of Manhattan, Manhattan is about 3 miles long, 2 miles wide. But look at look how huge that city is and all the different real estate just in that little area. Jancroon is 800 miles long and 40 miles wide. And I call them skyscrapers. There's buildings that are like 5 miles high on that city. So you can imagine the tons of just breathtaking penthouses and condos that we could have people, for virtual real estate. There could be commercial real estate. There could be bars, restaurants, nightclubs, museums, and then also in the center of the city is a giant, just a huge entertainment dome. So in this metaverse that we're creating, there could actually be live video game tournaments that people can just watch.
That's
Because not
fascinating.
everyone is a gamer. Not everyone wants to be the competitive gamer, but there's also going to be that also with iLogos. So we're gonna be building a role playing game, an RPG game. There's also the story itself really opens itself up to a MOBA game too, which is a multiplayer online battle arena game. So
Which is the thing that you said that's really encouraging is, all the money from the NFTs you're putting back into development, which I
mhm.
think is a really good sign for anyone that's actually buying the NFTs to actually realize that, this is some serious stuff here. What are you most excited about? Is there a character that you're most, is there an NFT, one NFT that you kind of, that's got you the most excited? What is it?
To be honest with you, James, all the NFTs came out so amazing. There's 7,777, and I literally, when I was going through these, I'm like, oh my gosh, this one's cool. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this one. So it's impossible to choose one over the other. I mean, some of the different hairstyles, I love the ones with the afro, because Sarah kind of made it to where it's a little off center, so it's kind of crooked, so it just looks cool, And then I don't know, I like all of them, so they're all cool. So and
Yep.
then she also did different skins. So there's one of some of the variations there. She made these cool looking purple splotches skin color, and it just came out awesome. Yeah, it looks really cool.
Just because we're probably got about 5 or 6 minutes left before the interview's over, just for anyone in the chat and Overstyler, great question as well. Just talking a little bit about the digital real estate and also the difference between some of the NFTs. But if you got any question, guys, 5 or 6 minutes, now's the time to jump in. Could be anything: NFTs, filmmaking, mogul, Hollywood, or even just asking Louie his other favorite stories from what's happened in Hollywood with the film. But basically, just quickly for your question, Overstyler, just with the digital real estate as well, you sort of mentioned a little bit about what we can kind of expect there. Is there anything further you can add to that? You mentioned obviously the dome in the middle, playing video games, 5 mile high skyscrapers.
Mhm.
What else can you share?
Well, so part of what we're going to be doing with Industrial Light and Magic and some of our other designers, we want to start building the actual, designing these condos and penthouses that people we could that could be exploited as virtual real estate. So as we go on, I mean, that's going to be the main sort of residential thing to acquire in the Jancroon, in the city, in the Galactic Port. But at the same time, we would love to have people also be business owners if they want, own a restaurant or a bar or a nightclub. You know, I mean, why not? I mean, if you really want to look at the entire possibilities of a new metaverse, a sci-fi metaverse, there's tons of stuff that you can do. I mean, there's in the actual story itself, there's all sorts of these cool looking trams that they travel on. They're basically little ships. I mean, we're going to be having, you know, hopefully ILM design all the spacecraft, all the cityscapes, all the, you know, really cool stuff. And there's actually, down the center of the city is a giant mall, which is like 2 miles wide. It's almost like a big avenue going down the center of the city, and it's actually transparent. It's like a floor of glass, so you can actually look through the city into space and onto the planet. And so when you're flying over it, it's going to be a really, really cool looking thing to experience.
See, that sort of stuff's just amazing. And again, guys, it's all basing starting next week with the NFTs dropping, mogulproductions.com. Go to the website. You'll be able to buy, obviously, starting next week. Louie, my last question to you, if no more comes in, is there any other Hollywood stories you can share along the way? Like I said, it's a great story. Characters are fantastic. There's really good people involved, and obviously, like big things ahead. Is there any other stories you can share with us?
No, because they're kind of depressing. No, my advice, I think, to any sort of writer or filmmaker, you know, trying to tell their own stories and make their own projects, is to think outside the box. You know, try and find other ways to get your story out there. Fortunately for us, the Jancroon story world is perfect for a graphic novel or a video game, and now NFTs. You know, so we're just, you know, and it's out of necessity, you know, to help, you know, to help ourselves, you know, get that boost we need to get a new IP out into the marketplace. So I would tell people to not stay in one lane. You got to think outside the box. You got to start, you know, looking for different ways to get your stuff out there, you know, because it is challenging. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, Hollywood is like a giant fortress, and you know, for the most part, there's gatekeepers trying to keep people out, and unless you know someone on the inside helping you get in, you got to find other ways to get over that wall.
Yeah, and I think and I'll even echo that and just say, look, and it's constantly changing as well. You know, like you were talking, one person's the head of visual effects at Fox, and then you know the next week someone else is there, and thinking out the box is essential. We've got to wrap up the interview now with Louie. Just quickly, mogulproductions.com has all the information about purchasing the NFTs. But also, if you've got any questions, you know, we'd love to hear. We'd love to obviously be, you know, obviously talking to you again, Louie, as well, just with the next developments that come in. But we wish you all the best. We're excited about what's to come from this. And thanks very much, guys, for tuning in for another Mogul Live.
Thanks, James. I appreciate it.
Louie, we'll get you back again. Thanks for having a chat.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.